Hi. So recently I did a video on my vegan kitchen, which reason I put the word, kitchen in quotes is because it's the desk that I use for motherboard repair that I just cleaned off and then decided to use to prepare organic food for a smoothie. Not exactly a kitchen, but a lot of messages happened as a result of that. So I figured I would use it as a chance to talk about some myths when it comes to turning over to a vegan diet. Now, one of the first and most prevalent myths that I believe is there is the idea that if I become a vegan, then I will no longer be full. I'm going to eat a meal and I'm going to feel like I'm still hungry and that I'm going to feel tired and I'm going to feel like I didn't eat enough. And that's a really shitty feeling. And I understand why a lot of people have that concern, and I understand why they feel that way when they switch to a vegan diet. So I wanted to explain why I think that happens in a lot of cases. This is not really an issue of vegetables themselves not having proper nutrition. I feel that that is a myth. There are a lot of people that will say things like, my body was designed to eat meat, and I know that other people's may be different. It's not for me. It may be for others. My body just needs meat to feel full and to have energy and to feel alive. And I feel like that's a cop-out for people who have not necessarily put in the effort required to prepare a proper vegan meal. And I feel that a lot of restaurants that see veganism as a food allergy. There was this place I went to with my friend 3 days ago, and it really reminded me of that first time that I had a vegan meal at a restaurant. So this place saw it as a food allergy. It wasn't that that we are going to prepare a meal from the ground up with the idea that the main nutritional serving, the main nutritional content is going to be vegetables. Rather, we're going to take the meat and the dairy products out of the meal that we would have otherwise given you. We're not going to replace the meat and dairy products that we took off of your plate with vegetables so that there is actually a similar calorie content, similar nutritional content. We're just going to give you the bread for your sandwich with these tiny little chopped up pieces of carrot and a couple of these slices of onion and a little bit of romaine lettuce, and there's your meal. And the problem is that is not a fucking meal. See, there's a big difference between a vegan meal and then food that does not have meat in it. See, when you sprinkle a little bit of lettuce on my sandwich and a little bit of carrot and a little bit of, whatever the hell else was on that disgusting sandwich that I had 3 days ago, you're right. That does technically qualify as vegan because there's no longer meat on it. But the problem is that you based your recipe on turkey bacon. You based your recipe on chicken. You based your recipe on eggs. You based your recipe on cheese. And when you took those things away, you didn't decide to add something to the meal to actually make it filling. You didn't add any cauliflower, mushrooms, avocado, spinach, and you didn't put anything on there to actually, add any content to it so that I could actually feel full. What you did is you took all of the stuff off of the meal that was the primary nutrition from that meal. You took all that away and you didn't give me anything back. And what's going to happen when somebody goes to a restaurant that they usually go to for the first week that they're trying this diet, if they go to a place that does not, that specialize in preparing vegan delicacies, if they go to a regular restaurant that's like, oh, fuck, another vegan, rip all the meat off the plate, if they go to that type of restaurant, then instead of getting a meal that's, let's say, 300 or 400 or 500 or 600 or 700 calories, they're going to get a meal that's 100 or 200 calories, and that meal that's 100 or 200 calories is not going to fill them up, nor is that meal going to have nearly enough vegetables to actually provide them with the nutritional content to call that a meal. What they have is a couple of some sprinklings of lettuce, carrot, tomato, and whatnot. That is not a meal. You need to have. There is a certain amount of each vitamin. There's a certain amount of calories that you need to have in a meal for your given height and weight and body type for it to actually be called a meal. And if you don't have that, of course you're going to feel tired. Of course you're going to feel exhausted. Of course you're going to feel hungry. So what I would suggest that you do if you've had this problem is look really closely at your diet and be honest with yourself. Did you really try to make a meal where you weren't going from eating this much in the meal when you ate meat and now you're a vegan, so now you're eating this much. Did you actually try to make the meal, your vegan meal, match your meat eater's meal? And if you didn't, I would suggest that you go back and try to find a way to do that, whether it's through creative cooking, whether it's through going to restaurants that don't suck, whether it's through, I suck at cooking, and the restaurants in this area are, a lot of them suck. So I just did it on my own. I kind of figured out, okay, let's get this much vegetables and see if I'm full. Not even close. Okay, let's try this much. And oh God, I feel like I'm going to be sick. So then I eventually found where I could, what I needed to put in my little blender recipe here in order for me to feel like I've actually had a meal. And once I got to that point, then I decided to start looking through the fruits and vegetables I put in it to see if it's actually nutritious. And then I decided to see, how do I feel after I drink this? How do I feel after I work out, after eating or drinking this? And then I came up with what I saw as a diet. The same way that everybody here who's a meat eater did with their regular food. You didn't decide to eat, you didn't decide to eat 2 Slim Jims before you and after you went to the gym. Then to say, I'm still hungry, screw this, I'm giving up meat because it's not nutritious. No, you didn't do that. You decided to come up with a way to make your diet as a meat eater fit your lifestyle and fit your body. And if you want to become a vegan, then you have to do the same thing. And I would strongly recommend that you stay away from restaurants, whether nice restaurants or fast food, because it doesn't matter if you're going to a restaurant where it's $400 for lunch or $5 for breakfast. There are a lot of places out there that I suggest you stay away from that see vegans and veganism as a food allergy, where again, the idea is not to create a meal from the ground up that is designed for somebody who does not want to eat animal products. Rather, the idea is to take the meal designed for people who do eat animal products, rip out the primary portion of nutrition and sustenance in that meal, and then leave the remainder on your plate, charge you 50 cents less because it doesn't have meat, and call that a meal, and that is not a fucking meal. Again, I'm not one of those people that is going to spend 30 minutes on Yelp if I'm in a neighborhood I don't know and my friend says I'm hungry and read through a bunch of 6-page fucking reviews where you can just tell that some elite shitbag decided that he's going to pretend that he's a food critic and come up with this really witty first line for his review that he spent like a good 20 minutes sitting in front of his computer going about, and read through all this shit while my friend is standing there hungry. I'm not the type of person to do that. I'm going to go out to a restaurant. If I like it, great. If I don't like it, maybe my next meal will be better. I now don't ever eat there again. We went to a restaurant that was if you're a meat eater, it's great. If you're not a meat eater, again, they are literally taking a spoon and going, okay, let's take the meat, let's make the sandwich. Now let's rip the meat off of that sandwich and hand it to you. I would suggest that you stay away from those types of restaurants, figure out who they are, and then if you're somebody like me who is eating out a lot because they work all the time and you don't have time to prepare your own meals, or maybe you're like me and you just suck at preparing your own meals and they taste so bad that you don't want to eat them. If you're eating out a lot, find a place to eat out at that actually tries to create a vegan delicacy, a good vegan recipe where it was not designed for meat eaters. Then, again, they just take the meat and they flip it out. Try to find a recipe that was actually made to cater to people that do not eat meat. And you may find that, again, you can be just as full, if not more full, on a vegan diet. It really depends what you choose to eat.